What's up, guys? I'm Kyle Milan. It's Tuesday, so you know what time it is. It's time to talk about sales and marketing. We go live every single week here at the Milan Media Studios, coming to you live from Austin, Texas, where it is stormy today. That's all right. It's still probably going to be 85 degrees. Every single week we go live on LinkedIn, YouTube. If you guys haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, head over there, type in my name, subscribe, turn on notifications. We got over 2,000 videos there. It is awesome. A lot of content. A smart man once said, give away for free what others make people pay for. And that's what we've been doing here for the last 5 years. Every strategy, tactic, what works, what doesn't, everything is laid out for you guys. Whether you want to implement this yourself, hire us as an agency because you like what we do, or take this to your agency and say, hey, I learned some things from this guy. Are we doing this correctly? And kind of audit them. That's what it's here for. So this week's topic, we're talking about SEO. SEO in 2025, what works, what doesn't. So much to unpack here. I mean, I could talk about SEO for hours and hours and hours. Let's take one step back and go into real quick the basics. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I know SEO. I know what to do, but it's so much more complicated than that. It's probably the most complicated system because you don't have really direct control over everything. You're reliant on the search engines to try and decipher and understand what it is that you want to rank for. And then they rank you for it. But if your page sucks and people leave, then like obviously not the best choice. So taking one step back, what is SEO? Search engine optimization. What does it basically mean when somebody types in a phrase on Google, Bing, or for those of you that are still using older platforms like going through Yahoo, do you show up? Now, how you show up, there's over 200 variables in SEO to make your page, your site show up for that search result. So there's a lot there, but fortunately, there's some that really matter the most. But let's look at what in 2025 is going to be the focus. And we've talked about this before, but let's get into it. The main thing that everybody's starting to push to is how do I show up at the top with the AI results, the AI overview? Take a step further, look at people like ChatGPT that are trying to turn their platform into a search engine and take traffic away from Google. But the first question that everybody wants to know is, how do I show up first? We actually had a potential client come through and it's like, how'd you find us? Well, we were going down our normal paths, etc. And then we went into trusty old ChatGPT and we typed in what we were looking for and you guys showed up, us. And so we clicked on it and we were like, yeah, this seems like they would fit our culture and what they do is good. So we had a conversation with them. So it's like, how do you show up first? So when you type in a phrase and you get the Gemini in Google, the Gemini AI overview, as you'll see on the right-hand side, after it gives you the summary of whatever, answering the question or giving you the results back that you want, on the right-hand side, you've got like sitemap links to how it got that information. Where it typically got that information from is the first pages of the search results or the first positions of the search results. So you look at positions 1 through 5, a lot of times those links that it's pulling from are answering the question. Now, sometimes they will go to page 2 and it depends on the question that you asked and specific long tail keyword that you're looking for. They will go to page 2. They're not going to give you the same result from all of the same top 4 sources. If it's like, what's the top 10 X? If the first 5 organic results are top 10 lists, they're not going to be like merging the things together and just providing you with those results. They will provide you with other content besides that. So even if you're on page 2, you can show up in those AI summaries, but it depends on what the person is searching for. So how do you show up in those AI summaries? You got to get to position 1. How do you get to position 1? It's not drastically different in 2025 than it was in 2024. There's just more of a focus on user experience, which Google is always saying like, oh, we care less about keyword density. We care less about X, Y, and Z. What we care most about is the user experience. And is it good content, answering a question, well-written, etc. What we know for sure is this: Google does not care if it is AI generated or if it is human written. They do not run it through a checker. They do not penalize if you have AI content on your site. The flip side of that is that most people don't know how to generate AI content that does sound human and isn't filled with a bunch of garbage and filler words like AI typically does. So step 1 is, in order for us to get to the top of the AI summary, we have to get to the top of Google, which comes down to a couple of key areas. Number 1, your site structure and directory. And this is something that I went through extensively over the last 5 months in building our new site. It's less about, like, if you look at your directory, what I mean is your domain and then your / into groups. So let's say you have products. It's your domain / products, then maybe / a product category. Or if you have services, how are those services lined up? The way it used to be, even in 2024, is that you would want your phrase in that URL. You had to have your phrase in the URL because that meant that like you're really showing Google this is what you care about. And so if your phrase is video camera equipment, then you want your URL structure to be your domain / maybe products / video camera equipment. But it's less about that these days to where they're looking more at, we want the URLs to be shortened and memorable. But if you get into long tail service offering like custom injection molding for aerospace or machining services for aerospace or the best couch for a dentist office, like couches for professional services, instead of going the long tail, they look at the directories and say, well, your domain is here. And then the first / is going to be what? It's going to be like a category of whatever it is that you do, whether it's the services, it could be / services. And then from there, a category of your services, if you have 5 different services. And then from there, the actual word. So you can have 3, 4, 5 directories deep. Just think about like a folder structure. If you're a Mac user in Finder, if you're a Windows user in Explorer, you've got your main folder, then you've got subfolders from that. So if you look at how you organize your files, you've got a folder structure. That directory structure is no different than on your website. You basically want it to have the same thing, with the main folder being your main domain and then subfolders from it. If you can map it out perfectly, that's going to give you the best likelihood for ease of crawlability, and Google will understand what it is that you're doing based on the terms that you use in those subfolders. So main domain, and then the next / is going to be a category or a product or some type of service or an industry, and then / another group. And if you don't have to use 3, 4, 5 subdirectories or directories within it, then don't use that if your stuff can be put simply, because that's gonna give you a better ranking. So the directory structure, basic folder structure, the directory structure of your site is important, and it's more important now than it was previously because they care more about it. The next area is going to be still your meta title, your meta description, your H1 tags, H2 tags, H3 tags. What that basically is anytime you go on any website, if you hover over the tab and just put your cursor over it, it pops up the meta title. Whatever that meta title is optimized for, that's what you're telling Google that you care most about to a certain extent. The next area is going to be your H1 tag, which is your heading 1. We just talking to a potential client and they're like, what can we do to our site to make it better? Our SEO tanked when we launched a new site. That's very common that happens if you don't have redirect set up properly. So new site launched, they merged sites, their SEO tanked, they're trying to climb out of it. And what I noticed instantly was on the first page, the meta title was great. The description was great. The agency that did it did a great job. And I don't know if they copied this from the previous structure or what, but it was a great job. But the main mistake that they made initially was the H1 tag is they put too many words before the main heading that they're trying to go after. So I forget what it was. It was something related to like ERP software. And so they have ERP software and they put words in front of it that were just like fluffy kind of marketing hook type words. But the whole phrase, it ended up being like 6 words. The whole 6 words was set as an H1 tag. And so you're telling Google that that's what's most important to you on that page. And some of those words are in the meta title and some of those words are in the description. It all carries a theme and it's in the URL, but you're telling them that the H1 tag has all these fluffy marketing words in front of it. And there's just an easier way to do it. You don't have to have all of that in there. You can, from a developer standpoint, set it to where those words are there, but only these ones that are important are set as a H1 tag. So paying attention to your H1 tags is still super relevant, even in 2025, and it always will be. Now, like the density of how many times that word or phrase is said throughout the copy, it's relying less on like it's got to be 5% density or 3% density. That's relying less and less on it. But the overall core structure of a page, you have to look at the folder structure or the directories. Then you look at the page URL, the H1 tags, the meta title, the meta description. Those are all, check those boxes. That's where the first place to start is that on-page SEO. Then as you get down into the H2 tags, those are just like the subheadings. So imagine if you had your main H1 heading, your subheadings are going to be H2 tags. And then if you have another subheading from there, it would be H3. So Google's going to look at your page and flow through it and be like, okay, one H1 tag, you can only have one. Then we've got some H2s and H3s and everything's organized and all these words and these themes are relevant because that's what it bases off of, not just the phrase, but an actual theme behind the page. And all those things are relevant. We're going to rank you at position 88 for this month. And whether you're using Ahrefs, Moz, or SEMrush as your tracker, you need to track it. So once you get your on-page SEO done correctly, then you have to go and actually track it because you may think, that the way that you're doing it is exactly right. Then you look at the performance of what position you're at. Hey, you're at 88. Cool, guys. We went from infinite to 88. Then you look at 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later. If you haven't gone from 88 downwards, closer towards position 1, maybe to 78, maybe to 68, kind of depends on the competition of that keyword, then you may not have it optimized or set up exactly the way it is. There's lots of little areas where you can look at the keyword density, the length of the amount of words that are on that page, how many internal links do you have on the page. You can look at the visibility or go to Google Developer and say, like, what's the speed of my site? Like, that's become more important in 2025, is the speed and the flow of your site than just like the words on it. So if somebody comes to your page, what's the experience like? Does it load quickly? And those are tests that you can all run through third-party systems, and Google has their own developer system for that, to be able to be like, give me a ranking on mobile 1 to 100. What's my page like? What's my site like? And they may say, dude, you're a 64. Okay, so if I'm a 64, there's no way that I'm going to go after a competitive keyword and go from position infinite to position 1 in any time that's going to be respectable if my overall site performance is a 64. You can't just look at it as like, well, but this page that I'm trying to rank for, this page is really fast and this page is set up correctly. You have to look at the whole picture. Your whole site plays into it. Google looks at it and says, somebody typed in this phrase and I'm showing you first. If they click on it and they don't have responsiveness, if it's not fast to load, if it's not easy to read, if it doesn't flow naturally as somebody would want to read through or engage with the content, then Google will penalize you and push you back further in the rankings. So you take all these considerations into place, but too often people are just focusing on like, oh, but my on-page SEO is good. My meta title description, H tags, those are all good. I've got alt tags on the images, which is basically like, if the images can't appear, what is that phrase that's on it? I've got all those done. There's no broken links. There's enough internal links where I'm linking to other pages in my site. There's enough external links where I'm going outside. But if the rest of your site is trash or garbage, or you don't have a domain authority, Google's not going to place you up at the top. I mean, that's just the way that it is. And so this is where you get into the complications of, there's so many factors that play into it. But the big theme is going to be, you have to make sure that you're paying attention to the results. You pick your keywords. Here we typically track like 100 total keywords for our clients every month, where we're looking at what is the position. Some of them are long tail, some of them are short tail. Primary keywords, secondary keywords, we track it and we look at the rankings over the competition. So what happens once we've got some clients where they're just beating the crap out of their competitors every single month? Okay, well, you got to either find new competitors, or don't focus on how you're beating them. Focus on, how do I get to number 1? Because maybe your competitor isn't somebody that you're going to bid on the project against or try and get attention from the market. Maybe it's like Amazon is your top competitor. Well, how do we beat out Amazon for that search phrase? Even though people aren't going to buy it from them over you, maybe, but it's just a way for you to continue pushing forward. You want to get to number 1, so you have to track it. And every single month you have to look at it, and you don't want to say, oh, it didn't move, or we lost positions. What are we going to do to react to it? You want to look at it and say, we lost positions, but where are we at today? Did we gain them back? What is the flip-flop? What's the balance? Did we lose some positions because of Google Core update that happened back on March 15th, which is a big update? Or is it middle of the year and there have been no major updates and you're losing positions because your site's load speed is poor, the rankings are poor, the audit is poor, etc. So you got to look at the whole package, not just focus on a singular page. If your whole site is ranking and performing well, then as you add more pages, it's going to increase and boost those to the top faster. Versus if you have a site that you're not ranking number 1 for anything, you add a page and you're like, this is perfectly optimized. You will never rank number 1 if your site isn't ranking for number 1 elsewhere besides your name, right? Like, oh, Kyle, if I type in my company name, I show up number 1. Okay, great. But what is that? Even that is like, what shows up? Is it just your homepage, or do you have site links to where it's your homepage and then there's boxes, 2 columns left and right of other quick links that people can go internal on your site? Like, I don't want to go to the homepage. I want to go to this internal page. When you can take up the most vertical space in a search results, that's the best thing, right? It's no different than on social media. As you're scrolling, anything that takes the most vertical space is going to make the user go past it longer, to potentially increase the amount of time that they see what it is that you posted, to then hook them and get them to take that action that you're looking for. So those site links are great. If you have the proper structure, then they will show up. But that's where you have to pay attention to like the entire presence of the website. It's not just a singular thing. If I just do this, it'll fix that one thing. There's been so many times that people have come to us and said, our site tanked or our SEO sucks. How do we go from this to that in like 3 months? Well, there is no magic pill. There's no way to do it. You have to just look at the entire site structure. What's the performance like? What does Google think the performance is like? What's the directory structure, the page structure? What's your on-page SEO with the meta title description, the H tags, the alt tags, the density of the keyword, the length of the page, all of those things. Once you get all of those things fixed, then you ask Google Search Console to re-index it. It'll crawl it when it wants to. Maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 60 days. And then from there, you have to look at errors. You have to look at sitemap errors. You have to look at performance errors. You have to look at indexing errors. You have to look at it on a monthly basis because you're never going to get there if you're not constantly looking at it. And that's what we do here. And it's just this game of cat and mouse, right? Like we make adjustments, Google rewards us, and then the next month is like, oh my God, we just slipped those 12 positions that we gained. And we look at, oh, the competitor gained 12 positions. Like this sucks. So it's like a super competitive metric and super competitive vertical where you have like limited control. So it's super frustrating because you can't be like, oh, that's because our headline is bad. Fix that, or you should have done that last week. And then nope, now we're number one. It's not like Google Ads. It's like this other game of cat and mouse where you have so many factors playing into it, and there is no instant result. Right? Like anything that you change that you make today, it may take 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks on Google for Google to recrawl and see it and then move up your rankings. If you're making updates regularly to your site, then Google's going to crawl it more regularly. As they crawl it more regularly, any other changes that you made to the site just naturally are going to boost up, right? Because like it's already crawling you regularly because you're creating lots of content. It wants to see that. It's more of a heavy focus on creation of content and quality of it and how long people are on the site versus just like how many pages do I have. So you're creating content. Google's like, oh man, this guy's creating all this content. I'm going to keep crawling them. I'm going to keep re-indexing them. And as they're crawling for that content, like, ooh, this page had an update because it can see all of that through the code. This page had an update. Let me recrawl that. So the more that you're making updates to the site and the more that you're improving it, the more that Google looks at it and says, this company obviously cares about the site. Therefore, we're going to show those search results to people. And as long as those visitors hit and stick to the site and spend X amount of time there, whatever their algorithm is going to say, and don't just immediately hit the back button, that's how you're going to increase the level of positions that you can gain and get the engagement opportunities. SEO 1000% is a long-term play. If you're not ranking today for SEO, then you have to go PPC route and run paid media against it to get those rankings up. But even paid media has changed over the last 12 months. In the last 12 months, Google Ads have cared more about the optimization and the performance of that page and relevancy than they did previously. They always cared, and they're always like, oh, your page has you got to have the keyword and the URL and all this stuff in the copy, and it's got to be relevant. It's got to be in a structure that's relevant, etc. But nowadays they care more than they did 12 months ago because they're all about that user experience. If somebody clicks on a Google ad, they want them to stick to that page and not hit the back button, no different than on organic results. So even on the paid side, they place more effort towards that experience with the user and making sure that ultimately all they're trying to do is give the user the answer to the question or whatever it is that they're looking for, provide them with those results. And they're going to continue to do it more and more with SEO. So the core focus of 2025 is look at your overall site structure, look at all aspects of your site. If you need to refresh it because it's been 5 years, spend the money. 10, 20, 50, $100,000, whatever it is to spend the money to upgrade your site, you will see the long-term benefits because as we continue to go year after year with additional SEO updates, it's going to be more push to the experience, the speed, the structure of the directory. And then with the AI side of it being a huge focus in 2025, they're going to look at those pages that are serving the most information, updating regularly, and have the best user experience. So overall structure, speed and performance of the site and UX, plus the directory structure of it. Then you've got the AI side, pulling in those top results, making sure your on-page SEO is good, and then tracking it on a monthly basis. Those are the things that you really have to pay attention to make a big impact this year so you can see a big return next year. If you're watching this on replay, if any comments you put in, we see them, head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. We've got some fun video content that's going to be released on our company YouTube channel. So make sure you type in Milan Media on YouTube and subscribe to that. We've got a race that basically started as like, hey, people run differently and maybe we can make fun of them, which then in this office turns into a competition of who's the fastest in the office, which then turned into me throwing money down on somebody who I think is the fastest. It's a whole thing. It's going to be a fun 10-minute video when it's done. It's going to be a longer than 10-minute video, according to Laura, when we're done. Grab some popcorn or some whiskey, and you'll be able to watch it here soon. But you got to subscribe to that Milan Media YouTube channel, and we will see you guys on the next one.